Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The Mock Turtle was a sad, lonely figure. As Alice and the Gryphon drew near, he sighed as if his heart would break. And his large eyes filled with tears. "Why is he so sad?" asked Alice. "It's all his fancy, that," said the Gryphon. "He isn't sad at all, you know." Then he went up to the Mock Turtle and asked him to tell Alice his history. There was a long silence, and then, after a deep sigh, the Mock Turtle began to speak in a deep, hollow tone. "Once I was a real turtle." There was another long silence, and then he continued. "When we were little, we went to school in the sea. The master was an old turtle. We used to call him Tortoise." "Why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?" asked Alice. "We called him Tortoise because he taught us," said the Mock Turtle irritably. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question," added the Gryphon. Then he said to the Mock Turtle, "Drive on, old fellow. Tell her about the games." The Mock Turtle sighed deeply again and drew the back of one flipper across his watery eyes. "Perhaps you were never even introduced to a lobster, so you can have no idea what a delightful thing a lobster quadrille is." "No, indeed," said Alice. "What sort of dance is it?" "Why," said the Gryphon, "you must form into a line along the seashore." "Two lines!" cried the Mock Turtle. "Seals, turtles, salmon, and so on. Then you advance twice, each with a lobster as a partner. Change lobsters, and throw them!" shouted the Gryphon with a jump into the air. "As far out to sea as you can swim," added the Mock Turtle, and he began to wildly caper about. "Then you turn a somersault," yelled the Gryphon, "change lobsters again, and come back to land." The two creatures sat down again and looked very sadly at Alice. "It must be a very pretty dance," she said. "I would like to see it." "Come," said the Mock Turtle to the Gryphon, "let's show her how it begins. We can do without lobsters, you know." And the two creatures began to dance, very solemnly, round and round Alice, every now and then treading on her toes when they came too close. As they danced, the Mock Turtle sang a song which began, "Will you walk a little faster, said a whiting to a snail. There's a porpoise close behind us, and he's treading on my tail. See how eagerly the lobsters and the turtles all advance. They are waiting on the shingle. Will you come and join the dance?" Alice was very glad when it was over at last, but she said, "Thank you. It's a very interesting dance to watch, and I do like that curious song." The Mock Turtle opened his mouth to repeat it. "Ooh," but at this moment they heard a distant cry. "The trial's beginning!" "Come on," said the Gryphon, and taking Alice by the hand, he hurried off. "What trial is it?" panted Alice, but the Gryphon only answered, "Come on," and ran all the faster. When they arrived, the King and Queen of Hearts were seated on their throne. All round them was a great crowd of little birds and beasts, as well as the whole pack of cards. The Knave of Hearts was standing before them in chains, and in the middle of the court was a large dish of tarts. The king was wearing a wig under his crown, so Alice supposed that he was the judge, and she decided that the 12 creatures who were sitting together in a box must be the jury. "Silence in court," said the king. "Herald, read the charge." The White Rabbit stepped forward and blew 3 blasts on a trumpet. Then he unrolled a paper scroll and read as follows. The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts, and took them quite away. "Call the first witness," said the king. The White Rabbit called out, "First witness!" And the Hatter walked into the court. In one hand he had a teacup, and in the other a piece of bread and butter. "I beg your pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing these in," he said. "But I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for." The Queen put on her spectacles and began staring at the Hatter, who immediately turned pale and fidgeted. "Give your evidence," said the king, "and don't be nervous or I'll have you executed on the spot." The Hatter then became so confused that he bit a large slice of his teacup instead of the bread and butter. Ooh. At the same moment, Alice felt a very curious feeling. She was beginning to grow larger again. "I'm a poor man, Your Majesty," the Hatter said. "You're a very poor speaker," said the king. "If that's all you have to say, you may leave the court." The Hatter hurriedly left the court, and the next witness came in. It was the Duchess's cook. "What are tarts made of?" asked the king, frowning at the cook. "Pepper, mostly," said the cook. "Treacle," said a sleepy voice behind her. It was the Dormouse. "Collar that Dormouse!" shrieked the queen. "Turn him out of court! Pinch him off with his head!" For some minutes the court was in total confusion while the Dormouse was turned out. When all was quiet again, the cook had disappeared. "Never mind," said the king. "Call the next witness." Then, to Alice's great surprise, the White Rabbit called out, "Alice!" "Here!" she cried. Then, quite forgetting how large she had grown in the last few minutes, she hurriedly jumped up and tipped over the jury box with the edge of her skirt. All the jurymen fell onto the heads of the crowd and lay there sprawling about. "I beg your pardon," Alice exclaimed, and she quickly put them back in their proper places. "What do you know about this business?" asked the king. "Nothing," said Alice. "Nothing whatever?" "Nothing whatever," replied Alice. "Let the jury consider their verdict," said the king. "No, no!" cried the queen. "Sentence first, verdict afterwards." "What nonsense!" said Alice loudly. "Off with her head!" shouted the queen. Nobody moved. "Who cares about you?" said Alice, who had grown to her full size by now. "You're nothing but a pack of cards!" At this, the whole pack of cards rose up into the air and came flying down upon her. She gave a little scream and tried to beat them off. Suddenly, she found herself back on the riverbank, with her head in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some dead leaves that had fluttered down from the trees upon her face. "Wake up, Alice, dear," said her sister. "Why, what a long sleep you've had." "Oh, I've had such a curious dream," said Alice. And she told her sister all the strange adventures that she had had in Wonderland, from the very first moment she saw the White Rabbit.